You have to see what's happening to Bitcoin's price as we consolidate within this symmetrical triangle. We are either going to break out or break down from this triangle. And I want to talk about what our upside and downside targets are. And today is the weekend, so we're going to see the most amount of manipulation during the weekend due to the CME futures markets being closed. And by the way, if you appreciate this content, remember to like this video. It really helps our channel. And we're also going to be looking at some altcoins like Ethereum today, because we are also seeing a breakout pattern for Ethereum within this symmetrical triangle. And if Ethereum starts to break out, we are going to be seeing new all-time highs beyond $1,430, which was the previous all-time high for Ethereum. And so this is a momentous and a historic time right now, and a very critical time when it comes to what's happening in the cryptocurrency markets, as we've already broke a $1 trillion market cap. And I also want to mention that when we look at the Bitcoin CME futures markets, you always want to look at these during the weekend, because they can give you a good understanding of how things are going to go during the weekend. And as you can see here, we have a huge range between 37,000 and 42,800, where Bitcoin's price can go in between these price levels, and it won't even form any sort of a CME gap, which to me says that there may be a lot of volatility during the weekend. And I want you to understand that if the institutions decide to top Bitcoin out during the weekend and we see a gap down and we create a gap up here, that would be a very positive thing. And I think that's exactly what they're going to eventually do once they decide to top out Bitcoin. And the reason I say that is because if they are able to leave a gap up top, then we can go as low as we want, but then we still have that magnet up top for us to eventually come and fill the gap later down the road. And so understanding the mindset of how CME gaps are made and what the institutions may want to do during that weekend is critical to understand how Bitcoin's price is going to react during the weekend. But I do want to go ahead and dive into what's happening to Bitcoin. We are going to pull up this 1 hour chart, and I want you to realize that if we were to pull up the volume here, I want you to see where we've seen major sell volume, because that's going to tell us what the important resistance levels are. And you can see here we have this one area where we saw major resistance all the way down to that $28,000 level, coming from right around $34,000 level. So we know this is a major resistance. And we also have this major resistance where you can see we saw massive sell pressure come in. And so this to me is a potential channel that's forming, and a resistance line that every time Bitcoin comes to this level, we see a sharp sell-off. And so if we start to break out of the symmetrical triangle, my first target is going to be right at that $43,000 level, where we have this major resistance level that has already touched once, twice, and then a third time here. And not only did it touch 3 times, but we saw massive sell pressure come in at that resistance level. And so this is going to be my first upside target. But if we start to break down, remember the CME markets, there's that huge range between 37,000 all the way up to 42,800. And so we have a chance to possibly come to this weekly open of 33,000 and gap below where the CME markets closed on Friday. And if that occurs, that means that we will leave a gap up top at that $37,000 range. And so that is not exactly what's going to happen. That's just a prediction. Of course, the weekends are crazy. We don't know what's going to happen. But realize that if Bitcoin starts to break out, that $43,000 level is critical. And not only is that critical, but that will most likely cause Ethereum to see all new highs. And the reason I say that is if we look at this weekly chart, you can see Ethereum's previous all-time high at that 1440 level. We are currently approaching that right now. And we are also in a breakout pattern within this channel, this parallel channel. And of course, this is very bullish. But when we look at volume, I have to be honest, we are seeing more sell pressure to the Ethereum to USDT chart than we are to the Bitcoin to USDT chart. You can see here we have massive sell orders coming in that aren't being bought up like Bitcoin sell orders, of course. And so Ethereum is a completely different asset, but realize that if we start to break out, this target is going to put us right at that previous all-time high of 1430. And so that would be my initial first target. If we break out of this channel, then Ethereum could see parabolic gains. And so this is very critical to watch. And thankfully, we do have some strong support so far for Ethereum. You can see this parallel channel keeps us above 1,000, right above 1,100. And if this breaks down, then we'll most likely come down to this weekly open right at 975 US dollars. I don't believe that's going to happen, just because when we look at the ETH to BTC chart, what you can see here is we are back inside of this breakout level, and this was an initial level that we were watching that we eventually came down and retested, and then that just eventually broke right through. But now we're back inside of this triangle, and to me, Ethereum is going to be able to buy time if we're able to kind of just see a small consolidation here while Bitcoin decides where it wants to go. Because remember, when Bitcoin is rallying, we'll typically see altcoins consolidate, but when Bitcoin consolidates, the higher it consolidates, the higher altcoins will eventually go while Bitcoin is consolidating. So I think this is very important to watch, and I also want to talk about how we are trading some of these altcoins using divergences, because a lot of you guys have asked me about bearish and bullish divergences, and so I'm going to do a little bit of some teaching, but I want you to notice as well with the volume here, we're still seeing massive buy volume when it comes to the Ethereum to Bitcoin chart. And so to me, that says that even though the Ethereum to USDT chart doesn't look as good, the real chart that matters with all altcoins is the Bitcoin pairing. And so this does look good to me and does still look bullish, especially because we are above the monthly and that weekly open. And so realize that so far, I am not worried about altcoins, especially when we look at others' dominance. We actually came down to test this weekly open today, and we were unable to close below this weekly open. We actually came right back up, and we saw a very nice push up. We actually didn't even close 1 hourly candle below this weekly open, and so it's always good to come and retest things just to kind of test out how is the market going to react to this major level. And so, of course, we actually took a trade. If you guys are in our Discord, what you can see here is we traded CTSI BTC, and this was actually a bullish divergence that I caught. I want to talk about divergences and how to catch these, because you can really get some nice solid trades by just looking at divergences. So this is one of those altcoins that just constantly get beat up, and when we look at the RSI, you can see this very clear divergence where we have price forming a lower low while this oscillator, the RSI, the relative strength index, formed a higher low, and that is a bullish divergence. If you guys don't understand divergences, go on Google and just type in divergence cheat sheet. There's a very easy cheat sheet that shows you exactly how to identify these divergences. And so we actually took this trade right here at 117 as soon as we saw the confirmation of a bounce after that divergence, and that resulted in some massive profits. If we were to actually look at how much profits that resulted in, over 16% profits just on that trade alone. And so for those of you that are trading divergences, keep in mind that one thing that you can do while Bitcoin is just consolidating is look at some of these altcoins, and now you're able to stack up Satoshis. And I do want to pull up the DXY chart because a lot of you guys were talking about this, but understand that with the DXY, we're still in a macro downtrend. So everything I talk about with the DXY, just keep in mind that overall in the macro, we are in a massive downtrend, and so there's still a lot of sell pressure here, but we do want this to stay in our heads, because understand that as the DXY consolidates, asset prices will most likely increase. But if the DXY sees a sharp reversal, then asset prices will decrease. And so realize that we're currently above the weekly and monthly open. Of course, this market is closed right now during the weekend, but we do want to watch this and keep this market in mind when we start to see markets open back up Sunday evening. And so that's very important to keep a watch of. And then when we look at Bitcoin dominance, what you can see here is we're below the monthly open, but we're just at that weekly open. We didn't see a sharp bounce like we did with others' dominance. And so to me, that says that we're most likely still gonna start to see alts rally, and it's just a matter of which altcoins are going to be rallying. And so a lot is happening in the market right now, but realize that we are approaching the apex of the symmetrical triangle. So at any point in time, we could see Bitcoin break out or break down. And really with Bitcoin at this point, there's a huge range that it could really go to and not even form a CME gap, all the way down to this $37,000 level, all the way up to that $43,000 level. And so interestingly enough, that wasn't a coincidence. In my opinion, the CME futures markets closed like that for a specific reason. And so if you guys appreciate this content, remember to like the video and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you guys so much for 39,000 subscribers. We just hit that today. And until our next video, snipers out.